Hey everyone, Lisa Salvatore here. Today we are talking about the entrance of Sagittarius season and the beginning of December leading up to the total solar eclipse that will take place on December the 4th. But first, let's talk about Sagittarius season. As of November 21st, around 9:30 p.m. Eastern, the sun moved from the intense water sign of Scorpio into the more lighthearted and expansive fire sign of Sagittarius. Now, whenever the sun shifts signs, approximately every 30 days, collectively the tone, the energy shifts with it, and we will feel it. Some seasons are more subtle than others, but I always find that the shift from Scorpio into Sagittarius is definitely felt stronger because when we are under Scorpio season, it just seems a lot more emotionally intense. And like we're digging deeper into things and trying to figure things out, and it can feel very cathartic in a lot of ways, and it can also feel demanding of us. And then we get to Sagittarius season and it's almost like a little bit of a pickup, and it feels like a more lighthearted, expansive feeling that happens. And it's no coincidence that Sagittarius season does coincide with the beginning of holiday season, which again is a mixed bag because it does bring up remorse and anxiety and stress on a lot of levels. But then it also brings in this feeling of camaraderie and wanting to get together with people and be celebratory and have some fun, even if we have to force ourselves to do so. So it's definitely a mixed bag of energy, but we do feel that collective shift from Scorpio into Sagittarius. Today that I am recording this video, it is Wednesday. It's the day before Thanksgiving. I think it is the 24th. I had to look. Today's Wednesday, November 24th. So we are into Sagittarius season. Happy birthday to all of the Sagittarius souls out there. It is your time to shine. Sagittarius is ruled by the planet Jupiter, and Jupiter is all about expansion and faith and optimism and truth, good luck. But the shadow side of Jupiterian energy is that Jupiter can lend to too much of a good thing and to too much of a good time. So make sure you keep that in mind as we're going through the beginning of holiday season and throughout Sagittarius season, which is November 21st until around December 20th, 21st. That is when you want to, yes, have fun, have faith, be fun-loving, but at the same time, make sure you are reeling it in and not overdoing it and taking care of your health, right? The tarot card that Sagittarius rules over is Temperance, the Temperance card. And this card speaks to moderation and balance and alchemy and chemistry and patience and keeping things tempered. And even if you look at the card, you see that the figure has 1 foot in the water and 1 foot on the land. And so it's important to remember to keep your wits about you under Sagittarius season. Over these next few weeks, you may be hearing and seeing things that could spark you in the best way possible or also in the worst way possible. And it's up to you to how you handle that energy. But remember that moderation is key. Patience is key. Also, if you look at this card, it's, think about liquid, think about alcohol, think about the holidays. You want to temper the energy. Make sure you're taking care of your physical body, the physical vessel. Don't overdo it in any capacity. And make sure you drink your water, like I always say. The card is even showing that if you want to, be a little silly about it. But there is water in this card. And so, yes, Sagittarius rules over the Temperance card. And I think that overall Sagittarius season does have the potential to bring in a lot of truths, not only because it's Sagittarius season, but we have a lot of other things going on. On December 4th, we will have our new moon in the sign of Sagittarius, which is also a total solar eclipse. So I just want to say this first. When we're dealing with eclipse energy, especially eclipse energy, it's not just that day or even that week or that month leading up to it. It's like a 6-month energetic portal. It's a time of, it's not just one thing that happens. It can be a culmination of events, seemingly small or larger, again, depending on your own personal birth chart and your own reality. This is going to vary from each individual to each individual. But overall, this eclipse energy is like a story. Now, when we have the lunar eclipses, which are the full moons, when the eclipses, these come in pairs. The eclipses come in pairs. So we've got the lunar eclipse first, which we had on November the 19th, and that was in the sign of Taurus. That was a full moon eclipse in the sign of Taurus. And then now we've got this new moon eclipse, a total solar eclipse, which is a new moon in the sign of Sagittarius. So eclipses come in pairs. Now, I want you to think back, and you may have to really dig deep here, but think back to June 2020, beginning of 2020. Think back to where you were and what was going on for you in your reality. Now, for everybody, we were under the pandemic situation. So of course, that's a huge part of it. But what else was going on that was significant around that time? What was revealed to you? What were you working on? What were you working through? What was going on in your reality? What entered? What exited? Think about that. You know, you don't have to think about it right in this moment, but think about that as we get closer and closer to this new moon total solar eclipse, because you will probably get a lot of information, or perhaps something that helps to propel you forward, or if not literally to help propel you forward, just to give you information or give you insight into how far you've come, how much you've grown, what still needs to be worked on and worked through, or how well you've done that you may not have necessarily recognized how much growth has occurred from that time period. Now, we started the Gemini Sagittarius axis, which is where Gemini North Node, Sagittarius South Node, this is where the eclipses take place, okay? Now, the reason eclipses are known to be fated times of change and energy and, you know, fated portals of time or destined times is because eclipses take place near the nodes of the moon, near the North Node and the South Node, which are known as the nodes of fate. The North Node is the fate of the soul. It's the karmic calling. It's the path of where we need to go to grow. And the South Node is where we are comfortable, but is not always the most conducive for our growth. And it's where we kind of, you know, it's what we fall back on to stay safe, but it's not necessarily the most important for our growth. So anytime we have eclipses, they're near the nodes of the moon, North and South Node, and this is why they're known to be fated times of circumstances, situations, entrances, and exits. So here's the deal. When we had that first first lunar eclipse in Gemini back in June of 2020, there was likely the beginning of something or some situation in your life, or even just a mindset shift that happened or occurred or that began to happen at that time. And now, as we get to this December 4th new moon total solar eclipse, it's super significant because this is the last eclipse of the cycle on that Gemini and Sagittarius axis, the North and the South Node. And then in January, the nodes will shift into Taurus and Scorpio. I'm going to do a separate video for that probably after the holidays. But so just focus on the fact that the nodes are going to shift soon, and this is the last eclipse on that Gemini and Sagittarius axis. So it means that you really want to look at and look for what has changed for you significantly or insignificantly, internally, externally, or both. Think about the significance of what a total solar eclipse represents. Yes, it's a new moon, and new moons are always about bringing in the new, right? But it's a new moon attached to the South Node, and the South Node is always about release. What are we letting go of for growth purposes? Because remember, the South Node is comfortable to us, but it's not necessarily the best place for our soul to thrive, grow, and flourish. But it's comfortable, so we tend to fall back on it. So this time period could show where you may be too comfortable or too complacent, and where you are finally recognizing that you need or want to shake it up or shake out. And so that could be coming up for you around this energy. And then looking at what you would need to release, whether it be a behavior, a situation, a relationship, a job, whatever it is for your current reality, for your personal story. That's what's going to be prominent for you under this energy. And so you're going to look at what would need to be released in order for the growth that your soul desires to occur. Now, the significance of a total solar eclipse is because it is a new moon in which the moon passes between the sun and the earth, and it basically blocks out the new moon passes between the sun and the earth, and it basically blocks out the light of the sun for a short while. And if you think about the significance of that and how symbolic this is spiritually, it's like for a brief period of time, the darkness is overshadowing the light. And so this is bringing you in to look at your own darkness, for everyone, to look at our own darkness, our own blind spots, where we may not be shining most authentically. And remember, Sagittarius is the sign of truth. It is the sign of expression. It is a sign of freedom. It is the sign of higher learning and growth and knowledge and changing of beliefs. And so all of this could be really pronounced around this energy, and that can be very positive. It could also reveal to you ways in which you block yourself and how you don't want to block yourself any longer. And this could be a time of speaking deep truths and having information revealed to you from other sources. Also, you being the one to reveal information that will help you on your path and promote the most growth for you. Now, this new moon solar eclipse also takes place at 12 minutes and 22 degrees of Sagittarius. I'm going to pull up the chart in a couple of minutes here and show you the aspects around this new moon eclipse. But I just want to put some emphasis on that 22nd degree, even though it's 22 minutes. So it's 12 degrees and 22 minutes. But 22 is a number of divinity and high spiritual knowledge and attainment and mastery. But it's also considered to be, in some forms of astrology, critical in the sense that it can be destructive. However, destruction can be very constructive. Destructive construction can feel like this. I need to have resolution on this matter. This has been going on for way too long. I've been sitting in this job and I know I need to get out of here. I've been sitting in this relationship and I know I need to go. And then not just this eclipse, but pieces from months back, everything's culminating. And it's like, okay, I need to make these changes and boom, I'm going to do it. For some people. But in some way in your life, there will be something where you have that moment where you're like, this feels critical. This feels like I need to shift this. It feels like it's time. I'm getting that push. And remember, with eclipse energy, it could be that the universe brings something in to change your trajectory or to change your reality. Just an example. I have a client who I've had for many, many years, and he had been wanting to change his work space because he was renting an office. And he was a little bit afraid to take the leap. And we had talked about it a bunch of times, and sure enough, this last eclipse that happened, Uranus was involved, and it was on a very personal point in his chart, and the rug got ripped out from under him, as Uranus often does, and basically forced him to have to switch offices, and he ended up in an amazing space that was what he would have wanted if he could have chosen it. And so the universe worked in his favor there. Of course it was disruptive, but it was very constructive. It was constructive disruption. And so things like that can happen around this energy. And again, we want to look to the personal chart to see where and how that could be for you. But change is imminent, change is the name of the game, and this is a time of truth, freedom, and expression. And as long as you're staying in your integrity and knowing and recognizing when and where things do need to shift and change, and that you're also having a hand in that growth and in that change, all can be very constructive under this energy. Okay, let's go to the charts. Here we have the chart of this new moon total solar eclipse in the sign of Sagittarius. And if you look right here, we've got the sun and the moon at 12 degrees and 22 minutes of Sagittarius. And Mercury is not far behind. Mercury has actually entered Sagittarius today, November 24th. Now, Mercury is the planet of the mind, it's communication, it's how we receive information, and it's how we put information out there, and also how we perceive information. And so when Mercury shifts from Scorpio into Sagittarius, again, there's this fiery fever to our communications, and that can also get temperamental and hot-headed. So remember to embody temperance, the tarot card that Sagittarius rules over in your dealings, and all should be well there. And moderation here also will go a long way. Now, Mercury is making a stressful aspect to Neptune in Pisces, and I'm bringing this up because we mentioned earlier, Neptune is going to station direct on December 1st. Now, we know what happens when a planet is getting ready to station. It slows down, and when it slows down, it is at the height of its power, and the functions of that planet are at optimal potency, let's just say. So all of the Neptunian things we discussed earlier are heightened right now. And again, we get the good side of Neptune, we also get the shadow side of Neptune. And when we're dealing with a stressful aspect between Neptune and Mercury, the shadow side of that can be misinformation, deceit. So whether you're intentionally being deceived or you're the one deceiving someone else unintentionally, because again, it can be unintentional deceit, misinformation being spewed. You can hear something and go in and give it to someone else, and it's not accurate. It's not an accurate depiction because it's how you're perceiving it. So you want to just make sure, and again, Sagittarius is the sign of truth, right? And higher knowledge and expansion. So yes, be open-minded, but also be open-hearted. And I'm not saying to allow people to step on you or walk all over you, but you do want to give others the benefit of the doubt, that same benefit of the doubt you want others to give to you. Be very mindful of that. And again, remember, it's a stressful aspect. And also, When we're dealing with Mercury, we're dealing with travel, okay? And we're dealing with the holiday season, so extra close attention to your itineraries, your health. Neptune can sometimes speak to being very receptive. And so, you know, if you're flying, for example, you should do this anyway. Sanitizer, clean your seat, do what you got to do. Extra mindful, extra careful. You should be fine. But I have to mention it. Now, on the positive side, Mars over here at 23 of Scorpio is trining Neptune at 20 degrees of Pisces. So Mars and Neptune trining, that can be very good for creative work. It's very good for spirituality. It's very good for compassion and understanding and empathy, empathetic exchanges. And so this could be really nice. We're still dealing with Uranus over here in Taurus, opposing Mars. But again, it's breaking away. But Uranus is making a funky aspect to this new moon by quincunx, which basically is an inconjunct aspect, which basically means they don't really understand each other. So again, with Uranus, we can get the good side of it, or we can get the destructive side of it, but the ultimate goal is liberation. So again, you know, you may hear some things about other people. You may be in a relationship that gets jostled around this time. Always pay attention to the source, the fact source, right? The source of the fact check everything under this energy and make sure that what you're hearing is indeed the truth and that it's not just out of fear or paranoia or potential deceit from another or unintentional deceit, right? Again, this is just like a little bit of an unclear energy to this new moon. And so again, you want to pay very close attention to the sources of information and what you're feeling at the deepest level to make the right decisions for yourself. And I always tell my clients that I don't particularly love working with eclipse energy because it just feels like a wild card, but reflection is never a bad thing, right? And when we're dealing with a new moon, we're dealing with what we want to bring in and what we wish to attract. So yes, you can still do that. You can absolutely reflect on that and look at how far you've come and where you would like to go and what might need to be released to do so. But as far as doing like any like major rituals, I probably would not do that. All right. So what else is going on around this new moon? All right. So Venus is about to station retrograde. On December the 19th, Venus will station retrograde in Capricorn. And Venus is very close to Pluto. And so what this does, and it's by conjunction, so it's very close, it's very potent. So with Venus and Pluto, we're dealing with intensity. We're dealing with the nature and quality of our relationships and our finances. It's what we love and what we value. So this is all coming up for review as well under this energy. And again, information can be revealed to help us in this arena. And also for our own assessment of our own priorities and of our own values and of our own self-worth. And that can feel very deep and intense at this time as well, but ultimately it's for growth, right? Now going back to Mars for a moment, Mars is squaring Jupiter, okay? Jupiter right here at 25 of Aquarius is squaring Mars at 23 Scorpio. So again, you know, Jupiter blows things up. Jupiter is expansive. Jupiter is known to be a very benevolent energy, but because it's a square, we can have a tendency to overdo it. And because we're dealing with Mars, again, I will speak to taking care of your physical body, not to overdo it at this time, not to assert too much physical energy to the point of absolute exhaustion. You may have an exuberant amount of energy under this time, but again, caution, pull back, rest, utilize the Neptunian vibe and flavor here as well. Meditation, quiet contemplation, just taking breaks. It's really important for rest. And just to go back to Mercury for a moment, I wanted to mention that Mercury is also squaring Pallas over here. Now, Pallas speaks to wisdom and also warcraft. So there's a way that she fights to get what she wants, and it may or may not work out how she intends for it to. So this is just further highlighting and exacerbating that muddled and confusing feeling that could be present with this Mercury-Neptune aspect as well. And Neptune and Pallas are seemingly close to each other, so it's an influence that is felt. It's in the periphery, but I am bringing it up because it does pertain to the overall tone of this new moon energy. So again, overall, I do feel like this new moon has the potential for a lot of epiphanies, a lot of constructive decisions that need to be made or implemented, or at least get going on them. And of course, it's going to be different for everybody, like I said. Now, I'm just going to pull a tarot card. The card I showed you earlier was just, that was not pulled. That was premeditated. That's the card of Sagittarius. So I wanted to show it to you. I'm going to get you a tarot card for this new moon total solar eclipse. December is going to be a lot. There's going to be a lot going on. And again, you know, mixed bag of energy, highs and lows, of course. And we'll come back throughout the month. I'll come back throughout the month with some more insight. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe, especially to subscribe if you like this content and would like more of it, because you will be notified when I upload new videos. I'm also on Instagram. Lisa A. Salvatore is my handle. And my website is lisasalvatore.com. You can sign up for my newsletter there, my Facebook, everything's linked there. Also, I am opening up new appointments consistently, so please check back if you see that the calendar is full. I will be opening up more as the month goes on. All right, card for the full moon. Ten of Swords. Okay, so tens are always the ending of a cycle. It's the wrap up of a cycle. It's the Ten of Swords. There's definitely a sense of anxiety and angst attached to this. There's also a sense of being in the mind. So being in our head, really, you know, thinking about, you know, this has been, I'm looking at this as what's been going on previously the past 3 or 4 months, this constant thinking of, you know, what am I doing? Where am I going? What do I need to do? And now it's culminating. It's definitely at the point of the wrap up of a cycle. So I'm looking at that Ten of Swords as the ending of that mental gymnastics. But remember, because of all this energy surrounding this new moon eclipse, and it's an eclipse, so it's powerful and it's potent, it may just be best to kind of hang back and reflect. See what comes up for you and make decisions and choices when it feels right. Trust your feelings, but at the same time, pay attention, very, very close attention to what's going on around you and if this is actually accurate to what you're truly feeling. And also remember that we are dealing with a new moon. I always do that. There's so much. New moon solar eclipse that's attached to the south node in Sagittarius, which represents a letting go of something that may feel comfortable, but may not be promoting your growth, because we want to move towards the north node, the future. You can still hang on to some of that south node. It doesn't mean you have to sever anything completely, but there is this element of letting go and releasing in order to bring in that new growth that this new moon and this north node want to bring in for you, okay? So take really good care of yourselves. I will be back with another video soon. Bye.